There we go. All righty. Ryan, thank you for joining me, my friend.
Absolutely.
We're recording now, so I thought what we do is Ryan had kind of a cool situation, cool deal come up, and he shared about it in the group, but I just wanted to get him on camera chatting about it and that experience, because I think it'd be really cool to learn, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that would really benefit from that. So, Ryan, would you tell us a little bit about that deal that you posted about?
Yeah, sure. I got a random call from my bandit signs came through, which kind of surprised me because I thought I had my stuff set up so the bandit signs went to voicemail.
Yeah.
But I got the call and talked to the guy, and he said that his mom needs to sell her house. She's getting older, needs to move on with it. Usually I would have like vetted it a little bit more, tried to figure out what they're trying to do. But it just sounded like there was enough motivation. And then also I just happened to have another appointment that same day, kind of on that same part of town. And so just timing wise, it worked out. So I was like, all right, I'll just come by and check it out and see what's going on. And it was weird because the mom, the owner, was there the whole time, but she was like gardening, doing her own thing. And I'm just dealing with the son. And then she came by and she's like, okay, cool. What'd you guys figure out? Like, kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
That was good. But it was funny because it was when I was talking to him, I just asked him, like, you probably haven't thought about what you'd want to sell it for, have you, or anything like that. And he's like, well, we just want to make sure we don't owe any money when we have to close on it. I'm like, okay, like, what do you owe? And he said about 30 grand. I was like, okay. I'm an agent too. So I showed him like comps, like actual
Sure.
like properties that that are on the market retail that are 260, 270.
Right. Wow.
And I was like, if you go and do the work and you do the stuff, this is about what your house would sell for. And they're like, nope. And they had issues. About a year ago they replaced the roof. There was like mold and water damage, and there's
Right. I remember seeing the mold thing. Yeah.
sinking floors in the bathroom, and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. There's a lot of original 1953 stuff, but
Wow.
they huge yard, and it's an area that's close to everything. So it was just kind of crazy. So I was, ended up working out with them. I know I could have probably, just done that and they would have been okay. But I ended up, they said they'd really like to walk away with a little bit of cash if they could. And so I ended up working out some stuff, and, they walked away with like 12 grand.
Sweet.
And with her timing, she, I'm also helping her on the timing. She's just paying what she was paying a month, and she's going to live there for a couple months too and pay me rent, just to make it easier on her.
Yeah.
And, but I actually sold them on selling it to me subject to, but I ended up, just because there was so much equity and it was such a good deal, I'm like, nope,
Right.
I'm just closing on it conventionally. I want them out of the picture and
Yep.
done. And so,
And then you'll just like help her transition for a couple of months. Yeah.
exactly. And then, but it's locked, it's done, closed, everything. And, just to give an example, I could probably wholesale it pretty close to 100,000 away from
Sure.
what I paid for it, or put 10 grand in just minor stuff, and maybe try to list it for like 199 or something like that.
Jeez.
But I'm going to I'm right now, I'm just screening through because she's living there, she's going to pay rent, so I'm not in a hurry.
Yep.
I'm going through and just trying to generate as many tenant buyer, like lease option leads as possible for someone to do, like,
Oh,
just
sure.
to get someone that actually is qualified to do repairs and stuff to the property as well. So then they can do the fix up on it, and I don't have to pay for it. And if they don't buy it, then they don't buy it.
Right. That's a fantastic idea. I know that I was talking with Jordan Payne, and he's done that with mobile homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People will come in and, smaller price point, but still similar concept of like, they'll come in, they'll owner finance it. He'll owner finance it to them, and then they'll be qualified and they'll do the work. Oh, if they default, like, sweet, we just got free work, basically. You work out some sort of unique deal with them.
Yeah. And I'm looking at potentially doing it on the owner finance as well instead, like
Mm-hmm.
8% or I don't know, something.
Sure.
Pros and cons to both, but
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Or if you just did, because I guess you mentioned the tenant buyer thing, which would obviously be a little bit different process, but kind of a similar concept. Yeah.
yeah, well, if they have, a lot bigger down payment, then the owner finance thing maybe makes more sense, but
Sure.
um,
But either way, I mean, It's a fantastic route to go because then like you don't have to do the repairs, like they can do it for you.
Well, I think I can cash flow on the place on a lease option probably 1,300-1,500 bucks a month, plus whatever I get down and them doing the repairs. So I just
Fantastic.
I would love to put a big deposit in the bank right now, but
Sure.
really the ultimate goal is just to keep stacking, income
Yep.
properties, you know. But
Right. Right. And this is a good one because it's got both options.
Mhm.
You really, I mean, you're in a no lose situation with this one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a good one for sure. And then yeah, it was kind of weird because I contracted 3 properties that same day, and
Mm,
it was just kind of a crazy day. And then one of them ended up kind of going crazy on me and backing out of it. And then the other one I'm still set to close on, but that's more of like a wholesale kind of thing. But they he's given me the ability to close subject to on it as well.
mm,
He wants to be out of it in like a year, so it saves me from having to go get a hard money loan and deal with
sure.
their payments and all that stuff.
Definitely. Definitely.
Hmm.
Well, one of the biggest things here with your story, both what I saw on Facebook and what you just confirmed, is that some people come to me like in Axiom specifically, and they'll be like, "Oh man, like how do I solve their problem without like ripping them off? Like how do I get discounted properties and still solve their problem?" And I'm like, you just got to talk to them, like what you just did. Like you got to have that conversation, and like you did your due diligence and did what you needed to do, both as an agent and as a human, of going, "Hey, just so you know, these are what your options are.
Hmm.
Like you can make more money." But like you just talked to them and just had like a regular conversation, like, no, this is actually our best, what we think is our best bet. It's like, okay, cool, let's move forward with it. And that's how you were able to get the deal, even though you're like, you could make like 260 if you put a little bit of work into it.
Hmm.
Or like you said, you could probably make over 100 with no work. We're at right at 100, something like that. I mean, I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and well, the crazy thing too is I haven't, I was trying to hire people off Craigslist, put up bandit signs at different points.
Yeah.
I still have several hundred in my garage, and I just would always get, most of the calls would be people complaining about the signs being up in their neighborhood or that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't had anyone put anything up for 6 months. So this one's been sitting there, and I'm like, okay, maybe I need to get those up somewhere, or like figure
Sure.
out, kind of
Right.
let's get those up, because if one phone call, and seriously, it was contracted, it was call today, appointment tomorrow, under contract tomorrow,
Oh my gosh.
right? Like it was
It was
just like,
like boom, boom, boom.
yeah, it was, and I'm just like, and it was the easiest. It was like uncomfortably easy almost. Like it was just because you just expect more. It was such a good deal. I was worried about him backing out. Like
Yeah.
2 weeks later, they're like, yeah, we talked to our friend who's an agent, and it was like,
Yeah. Right.
you know, but
But I just think that was so cool how you approached it. And I appreciate you explaining the timeline too on how fast and how simple it can go.
mhm.
Like when you're doing everything right, when you know that you're operating out of integrity, and when you're going about it in a way that like, okay, let's go see what problem we can solve,
Mhm.
and let's see how we can make money together. Like let's go out and do this. It all aligns, and I just thought that was just a beautiful example
Yeah, appreciate it.
how that goes. Yeah.
Well, and also like just, some of the stuff that you're doing today can pay a dividend 6 months or a year from now too, if depending on what you're doing for your advertising, or what
Yep.
your net. I mean, same thing, networking, same
That's
thing with
right.
all of it.
Putting out bandit signs that you forget about, and like
Hmm.
just putting them out. Like,
I thought they got picked up, like,
yeah,
like,
right, exactly. But like, and you said it was sitting there for 6 months.
yeah, at
Yeah.
least,
See,
yeah,
you just consistent. You stay consistent, and like stuff pops. Stuff happens
yeah.
when you're consistent. I just think that that's just a beautiful example of that all the way around, of just putting the work in, having integrity, and like just communicating with people and like coming to them where they're at.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
no,
cool.
it's been good, man. So I just need a few more of those.
Right, exactly. It's like we wish every single deal like that was like that, because that's like a home run.
Yeah, yeah. And what I'm fighting right now though is like, so for example, on that one, so I just closed on it with hard money on a super small loan. Like, but I
Yeah.
still, even with that, with doing all the closing costs and everything, like I had to come out of pocket like 16 grand on that one.
Mm,
And then I had to I have this other one that I'm closing on that, he wants to walk away with 25 and the closing costs. I'm probably looking at 30 out of, I'm starting to like, you can only do those so many times, and you either got to come up with private money or you got to like just wholesale them.
Yep.
And so I got to figure out some hard money or some private money sources like
Yep.
that aren't going to kill me.
Yep. Right. Right. It's like, well, you were in Miami. I
Mhm.
think that's where we met. Was that the first time we met in person?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Miami? Yeah. And I remember listening to Don Costa, and he was talking about that. Well, on the flip side of it, he's like, yeah, I never use my own money because like you can't scale. And it's a similar
Mhm.
thing with what we're talking about here, like even with rentals, like you can scale so much faster when you're partnering with some sort of a money partner that can come in and they're like, all I want is a return. You're like, sweet. I don't have to dip into my capital. I can keep that in reserve, which actually makes the deal even stronger because now I'm protected. Like, and now we're seeing the evidence of that as well on the buy and hold side,
Mhm.
which is cool. It's cool to see those principles transfer over.
Yeah, totally. And well, it's just it's still finding it though. And that's,
Yes.
you
Right.
always hear about the people that they can make a phone call and they get 4%, 5% money, no problem for
Right.
whatever,
Yeah,
And
right. Yeah, right. Right.
yeah, it's like I just
You're
want
like,
that.
where are these people?
I need that guy. I need that guy.
Right.
So
They're out there, but it's
yeah.
just like you said, it's a matter of finding them and then cultivating the relationship.
Mhm.
But going back to what you just were talking about with this deal, like you handle that part of your business, the private money raising side of your business, the way you just handled that deal that you just told me about, you're not gonna have any problem because you're going in a way of integrity and you're going in and like, hey, let's have a conversation and see if we can do this together. Like easy,
Mhm.
simple, and people relate to that. So it's gonna be really cool, like 6 months from now, to see like what the next few deals look like after like you've put some time in, so more time into like building that out. I think that's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, definitely one of the next steps for sure. There's not really a way because you're just going to run out of money if you don't, or
Right,
or you do the just wholesale, side so you have the income coming in. But
right,
I
right,
don't know,
exactly.
and who knows what the next 6 months is going to look like there. I think the creative side is definitely the place to be for a lot of
Totally,
stuff going forward.
that's cool. That's gonna be fun to watch. Well, like I said, I want to be respectful of your time, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all that. I think that's gonna be really beneficial and for a lot of members of both the Kingdom. I'm gonna post this both in the Kingdom and Axiom because I think a lot of people are really gonna benefit from it. So
Awesome, man.
appreciate
Awesome.
your time, Ryan.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Later, bud.
we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.